Hello everyone. Welcome to Art Town Podcast Series, or ATPS as we like to call it. Every week on Friday, we feature art and design professionals who take us through their journey in this fascinating world of art. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Spotify. And with that, let's continue with the show and dive deep into the ocean of art. Can you imagine that IoT and blockchain can be used to authenticate artworks? Our today's guest has made this interesting combination of art and technology possible. He is none other than Shankar Mridha. He is a mechanical engineer, but his entrepreneurial cognition introduced him to the world of art. He started his own company, Jumbish, to give an opportunity to artists to sell their paintings and artworks. Through his endeavors in the company, he created a digital authentication tag that provides a digital identity to various artworks. So let's straight move into our conversation and get to know more about his divergent thought process. Hello, Shankar sir. It's our pleasure to have you today. Before we dive into our conversation regarding art and technology, I would just like to ask you, how are you and how are you coping up with the whole lockdown situation?
Oh, I'm perfectly fine. In fact, we are not coping with the lockdown situation. The lockdown situation is coping with us. So we are absolutely fine inside the house. So we call it as royal prisoners.
Mhm. Yeah.
So we are like royal prisoners. We are in the house. We enjoy inside the house. We are celebrating, enjoying the closeness with the family members.
Yeah. So yeah, actually what you said is like pretty much true. But I hope that even right now people are safe wherever they are, and even you and your family is safe.
Yes,
So
thank you, thank you. I
yeah,
wish everybody should be safe that way.
yeah. So moving towards the art, the topic of art, I will you are a mechanical engineer, right? So how did you get inclined towards the art field at the first place? How did you get introduced to it?
So I'm a Bengali, and there is a rule in Bengali families that every child need to be associated with some or the other form of fine arts. So it should
Hmm.
be art or the music or singing or dancing or poetry or something like that. So that's one angle which is there for us, that right from the childhood I was attached to music.
Mm-hmm.
So that from that point of view. But what you are asking is possibly mechanical engineering and why I am here. So I spent 17 years in the IT industry. I was a vice president in a Fortune 500 company. Then moved to that's when I thought of that I should give back to the society and not
Oh.
just earn from myself. So the first thing we I started is about starting a hospital,
Oh,
because that seemed to be the straight away giving back to the society.
yeah.
But then within 1 year, I felt this is not my calling. And when we were exploring with my friends about which are the communities or section of our society which is still neglected, and they are even not even considered as underprivileged. And that's when we realized that artist is a community which is not considered to be underprivileged, but
Yeah.
they follow through a life which is like an underprivileged.
Hmm.
So we said, fine, we will do something which is not charity, but it should be a business, and where we also get help, and we can help artists to grow.
Yeah. So it's like, this is very interesting, and the perspective that you had, like it's very unique, though it is very true. But I don't think people must be thinking about the whole situation in this way. So thanks for giving us that perspective. How did you come across the whole concept of Jumbish? What gave you the inspiration?
See, it's not that one fine day we got something and that became the the aim of life and aim of Jumbish. So we
Yeah.
also evolved. It's been 4.5 years now. So when we started with the thought that we will help artists,
Mhm.
and so we started with a very conventional ways of working in an industry or art world, where we started selling art and so helping the artist, selling to our network, selling to architects, interior designers, private collectors. We have done several shows of art. So that was the starting point. But then what we thought is that we should not restrict ourselves to a geography, because that was pretty much in Pune and surrounding areas where we are based in.
Yeah.
And we realized there are bigger challenges in the art world. We did some research and we identified there are three challenges which we would like to work on. And those three are: first is the art authentication,
Mhm.
which is the forced art or fake art being there in the market and which is being
Yeah.
sold. The second is about royalty for artists. So we observed that there is royalty for filmmakers, there is royalty for musicians, singers, authors, but not for artists, meaning painters to be precise.
Yeah.
And then the third challenge is what we observed is that even we as parents, we don't encourage our kids to get into the art field.
Yeah. Sad but true.
And the most obvious response is that that's not such a lucrative career option, and it takes a long time to become an artist or a professional artist, and which is actually true. So that is our third challenge which we saw, and we said we will take that up. So,
Okay.
so that's the story of how Jumbish we started.
Okay. So, like the whole concept is very interesting, I must say. When I went through the websites and all, the whole thing just struck a chord in my heart. So, it's a very, very good initiative, I must say. And it's sad that artists don't get uh, those many privileges. That's a very sad reality. Um and one more thing that I noticed about Jumbish is that you want to, bring art and technology together somehow, right? So, how do you exactly want to achieve that through Jumbish?
So as I said that with the evolution, which we felt that we found out those three challenges,
Mm-hmm.
and our objective was that how we can mitigate these challenges, how we can provide some solution to these challenges. And with my background in technology for so many years, uh, and with looking at how the markets can and how the possibilities can, we found technology can actually resolve all these three challenges which we talked
Mm.
about, with authentication, royalty, and a long gestation period for me. So
Yeah.
technology we used for authenticating a painting. So we created a microchip, which is IoT based concept, and
Mm-hmm.
we put it on the back of the painting. So, and the glue is very strong, so it cannot be removed. If
Oh,
somebody tries to remove it, it rips it off. So it becomes like a permanent certificate of authenticity for the painting.
okay.
And
Interesting.
the corresponding data of that painting rests on blockchain. So that's again a secured platform where the data about the painting remains on the blockchain. And it's not just the data about what is the title and the description of the painting and the price of the painting. It also stores the provenance details, which means what is the ownership history of a painting. So that's how technology we brought it into art,
Yeah.
and we were very specific that we don't want to replace art with technology. Rather, we want to use
Mm.
technology to assist it.
Yeah. Yeah. True. True. So, wow, like this is a very unique thing that I like just got to know that you can do something like that as well. So, seems like the whole system is very the whole process of like authenticating the artwork is very systematic. Is there any process that goes into the selection of art as well?
Yes, absolutely. Because uh, what happens is if we don't put that filter, soon the quality becomes very challenging. So we
Yeah.
have a set of internal curators who are expert in their art. They are artists themselves. They are curators there. So they do the initial test filtering out. So generally, we go out with those that if you are an absolute novice, possibly we advise them to practice little more and then get into the platform.
Okay, so you must have come across a lot of paintings till now, like gallons of them. So, what do you think? What makes a painting stand out, and what gives it the value it has?
See, there are two ways the art is valued in the market. One, because of the signature, and the
Okay.
second, which is like a brand. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you go to the market and you see a Mac, and you see that's because it's a brand which is talking about it. So for artists also, that's one. Lot of paintings get sold just because there is a brand. Then the other aspect is about what is the thought process of the artist, which is coming out as from the painting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, these are little bit correlated. The artist is successfully been able to portray his or her thought process on a canvas. That happens only when the artist is practicing it very regularly, maybe experimenting with his style, with his way of expressing, and so on. So what happens is, by the time an artist becomes a brand, they are or generally are very good in expressing their thought process anyway. But on the other hand, there are also artists. There are a lot of artists who are not so renowned, not so brand conscious, but they are extremely good in expressing themselves.
Yeah.
So that's something which we keep looking for all the time. People may not know them by name, but
Mm-hmm.
we have a huge talent in India, and we have never seen a dearth of good artists in India.
Yeah. Yeah. True that. So, like you mentioned about having art curators before, right? Who filter out the paintings. So, like, we would really like if you tell our audience what art curators are and how can one be a art curator. Like, what is the process of being a art curator, or is there any qualification that you need?
Art, there are actually courses which are available for on art curation.
Mm-hmm.
So people can go through that and uh, become so-called an art curator. I'm saying so-called. The reason is art is such a subject. It's extremely vast, and gathering the knowledge about art is never ending. So even though somebody does a course or a few courses, it gives them a good start, but then it has to have a continuous learning process. Now, in history, curator was a term which was primarily used for people who were working in the museum.
Hmm.
And a curator in a museum was a person who was aware of each and every artwork in a museum. He knew the history of the paint artwork. He knew the artist and the details of the artist. He knew how to categorize what era they were from and every detail of that. But in the current context, the curator word is used very loosely in different perspectives. So even a person who is managing a art exhibition is also called a curator.
Okay.
But
That's
then
it.
also
Uh-huh.
that curator need to know the artist and the artwork, and that is when only they can create a story from an exhibition by
Hmm.
presenting a set of paintings in particular exhibition.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like we know. that there must be so many different fields related to art out there, but we also know that people aren't encouraged to, you know, pursue art. Like it's still not very common in India. So that's why I just asked you so that our audience could know that there's something, there are so many options out there that they can maybe explore. So that's why I asked you that question, and I hope that that helped audience as well.
Sure.
So
So I can add few more if you want.
yeah, 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 that would be amazing.
Okay. So typically, when we think about art as an industry or an art world, we think about artist as the primary career option. Yes, that is true.
Yeah.
Uh, but there are so many professions, like a curator is one. Today, technology is another one, which is very effective. Uh, those who are doing social media, they can focus very strongly in the social media for artists. That is another art career. There are art framers which are very specific and specialized in framing art. There is a concept of archival framing, archival printing, and there are institutes who give even knowledge of they run courses on art framing. There is forensic science which can be also a part of art industry, because that is very useful and very highly paid, in fact, in the world of art forgery and fake management. Then there are you can open a gallery by yourself, so that becomes a business.
Mm-hmm.
Then there is museum curators, which is the original term curator where it started from. That is another way. So there is courses on museum history, museumology, museology, which also people can go through. And then there are art appraisers, that can be another one. So that is generally art and antique appraiser. So appraising as a process can be also, there are various courses for that. So it's not just one career. I just listed right now so many career options which can be there.
Exactly. Yeah. So that is actually this is something that people should be aware about. Um, so that people will actually know they can do that also. So that was very insightful. Thank you so much for telling us that. Like Jumbish is not the only company that you have founded, right? You have been a founded member of many other, like couple of other companies as well. So can you walk us through your entrepreneurial journey?
Okay, sure, Pratyanja. So, uh, as I said that when I was in a job, I had an opinion that I should now go back to the society and give something. While that should not be a charity. So, on that basis, the first one was a hospital, which is I had a 40-bedded multi-speciality hospital, which had ICUs, OT, pre-OT, specialized beds, and so on. Uh, then I had my passion about coaching, so life coaching. So that I have been doing since the time I was working in a company. So I pursued that also for some time, and I today I do it only for friends and family and the people who know me that I do this. And finally, it is about Jumbish, which I talked about so far. I also founded a community forum which is called Art Circle International, which is a group of all the business people who have joined BNI as a group. BNI is Business Network International. So I combined them to create synergy between them.
Mm-hmm.
So these are few things, and then the most recent ones is we also started uh, another vertical, another company which is into selling portraits, which is customized portraits for
Oh,
people.
okay. Interesting. People love portraits.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people who today we struggle in what we should gift, and which
Yeah.
is cost effective, yet it is specialized, and I can impress my Valentine, I can
Uh-huh.
impress my wife, spouse,
Yeah.
or even for marriage gifts as well.
Yeah. Probably the best gift.
Yes.
Yeah. True. True. So interesting, interesting. So, like you have walked us through your journey, and it must be difficult to start over as an entrepreneur after working for 17 years. As a different in a different profession. So, were there any things that you feel that you could change when you started off your career? Maybe few things that you wish you knew at that time.
So I would share this that one sentence I have heard many times when I was in job, and possibly a lot of the audience also might have heard this, that one day I will start my business.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So uh, I have spent a lot of time in IT, so I have heard this like several years, several from several people, and possibly the biggest challenge everybody had in mind is I don't have enough money.
Yeah.
And I feel that this one misbelief, if I would have removed it pretty much earlier in my life,
Yeah,
I should have started much earlier.
yeah,
So money is not the the constraint. It is the will, the real passion to start something. Money will come automatically
yeah.
when we do the right things anyway.
And so many people can relate to this problem. I must say because I have heard a lot of people saying, complaining about the same thing. So that is pretty helpful. So, like one more interesting thing that I got to know about you was that you have two children and they don't go to school. They are unschooled. So, like you must have taken that decision for your children, obviously, because they must be small at that time. So, don't you feel that they might be missing out on some important things since they are not going to school and they are self-learning or schooled at home?
Okay, so Pratyancha, I won't ask your age, but I'm sure right from your childhood,
Yeah,
uh, we all have been choosing our friends.
yeah.
Okay, so in a group, we choose which friends I should play with and which friends I should not. What I'm trying to say is that one, it's again a misbelief possibly that children cannot take decisions.
Yeah.
So it's not that I have taken the decision on their behalf.
Okay.
Yes, the this was the idea was initiated by me, of course, but then we discussed at home about what are the pros and cons of both the options. If we continue to go to the school, and if they don't want to go to the school,
Yeah.
and then the decision was taken by them. So
Oh,
the responsibility lies with them now.
okay.
Okay. So that is one. So they are pretty much aware what they will be missing out. So they will be missing out like school picnics. They will be missing out annual days. They will be missing out those um, maybe those activities which are there in the school on a regular basis. They will be missing out the punishments from the teachers. They will be missing out the homeworks. Yes. Uh, so we compared those, and then we also compared what they will be missing out if they take up the unschooling part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so when they compared and they took the decision that yes, this is
Great.
what we have.
So, one more thing I would like to ask you is that why do you think that in India, uh, parents usually don't encourage their children to take up other streams than maybe the stereotype yes, and the mainstream career options there are. And one more thing is that how do you think that the children or the parents can be motivated to take up even the different career streams?
Oh, I think it is not about that they are doing something wrong. In fact, parents, whatever they are doing, they are taking decision based on the best of the information which is available to them right now.
Yeah.
And so like me, all the other parents also think about a better future, better career for for their kids. And since we have been brought up in a certain way, it is obvious or very easy to take a path which is known to us, and anything which is unknown actually creates a fear in our mind. So if I talk about unschooling decision, um, who has the highest fear in our family? Oh, it's the parents who we
Parents,
have the
yeah,
highest fear, not the kids.
yeah, yeah, agree.
So it's about taking that step and that plunge, I would say, to that unknown, which we can enjoy as well as we can fear. I mean, it's same as getting starting your own company, or it's same as going to a new place, or it's same as going out solo for a travel.
Yeah,
So it's the fear of unknown which stops most of us from doing something unique, something new. So that is the same feeling which goes on for the kids, because the children are the most lovable assets one
mhm,
parent have,
yeah,
and they think that if the path we know, we are aware of, if the kids take that, it is easier for them to succeed because we know what is going to happen.
yeah,
But unfortunately, nobody knows what is going to happen in the future.
yeah, true. So, what do you think is going to be the future of art? Like, you have incorporated technology to your extent through your startup, but what do you think? Do you think the that art and technology are going to go parallelly in the near future?
Oh, there's a huge n number of opportunities which are coming up for both the artists who are tech savvy and the artists who are not so tech savvy as well.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by that is there is a huge emergence of VR and AR. So there is
Yeah.
art in the visual world, which is virtual world, which is also picking up very fast. There is art using AI, which is also coming up very fast. I'm personally known to artists who are using sound waves to give that as an input to an algorithm on a computer to generate a pattern by using a CNC machine by scrapping off the paper. So now think about how many steps it can take. So that is another thing. With the advent of the art materials, also there is a huge advancement. So artists are taking up experimenting with new things. For example, painting on plastic papers. Uh, so that's another thing. Painting, not printing. Then there are options of technology which is supporting to the art industry, like how uh, we are helping in art authentication. Then there are people who can help in art promotions. Then there are helping people. There are platforms which are like providing virtual exhibitions.
Yeah.
So technology and art, it is very difficult to remain isolated. It is
Hmm.
only about how we leverage the best things of both the world
Yeah.
and go ahead. So it's like when social media came into picture, some of us said, "Oh, it's a bad thing," and some of us got addicted, and some of us took the advantage of this and saw the good part of it.
Okay. So, uh, like you are saying that maybe AI can be a very good AI and art can be really good counterparts in the future, right?
Oh, could be, yes, yes, could be. Why not?
Okay, so like one more thing that just came up in my mind right now was that, like, let's take a hypothetical situation. There are like two similar paintings, and both are from maybe different artists, but both are similar looking. So how is the process of authentication exactly goes? Like how does it recognize which painting is you know the real one? And maybe is there any way we can track the lost? art pieces as well? Like, can that IoT setup that you have installed in your painting is like, does it work in this way too? Like, can it be used for tracking the paintings if ever it gets lost?
I will answer the second part first. That's a quicker one. So tracking of painting in terms of geolocation and all that stuff, we have not intentionally added there because
Okay.
that infringes into the privacy laws. So, for example,
Oh.
for example, if you buy a painting and that has a GPS tracking mechanism, I will know how many paintings are there in your house.
Yeah.
So that's
Got it.
not safe, and it's also
Okay.
infringes the privacy laws. So it cannot be done that way, but it can always be marked as a stolen painting. So we know for sure that there is a fake which can come into the market anytime.
Yeah.
So that is one thing. So going back to the your first part of your question, which is how we identify fake or original. If the artist is alive, the easiest way to authenticate is ask the artist, because whatever expertise a faker or a forger can have and maybe created as duplicate, the original artist can immediately identify that, oh, this is the original one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, coming to the situation when the original artist is not there or he is not alive anymore, then the process becomes very complex, because then it goes to, I talked about several art careers. So these are various career options where experts who need to come together that time. For example, the forensic scientist has to come to find out what are the layers in the painting which are there,
Mm-hmm.
to find out what material in that paint which is theirs and correlate with the era of the painting and find out whether those materials were being used in the paints at that particular time. Then art historians need to come together with the art forensics people to find out whether that was the style of the artist which was prevalent in that era when this particular painting was done. And
Okay.
then there are art experts who does research and who studies single artist for their entire lifetime. So these kind of experts also come into picture. So they together they establish whether the painting is authentic or not.
Okay.
So this process is very it's an old very it's happening for donkeys years. What our system does is once this process is done, then we can put up that microchip behind, so that this process does not need to be repeated every time we have this question.
Pretty interesting, and it's like very much like it's very unexpected. I wasn't expecting so many factors into consideration while authenticating a painting and stuff. But it's really cool that you have come up with a solution for that, and it's amazing. So you have established such a unique organization, such a unique company, and it's going pretty well. And like, even then, do you have any kind of plans in future or any dream project that you still want to do in your life even after Jumbish?
So this we actually started this, uh, but we had to stop because of restriction in movement, which is
Oh,
about opening a house where artists can come, and we specifically give opportunity to artists who are struggling with their financial conditions, who are struggling with their family situations, but they are really passionate about only art. And so we want to encourage these kind of artists, get them together, let them explore their inner creativity, and create something which is like unique, which is so amazing in the world.
yeah, beautiful. So that initiative sounds so beautiful, and it is going to help a lot of artists out there. So I mean, if you can carry out that, if you are able to, manifest your dream, in near future, it would be pretty great. So I really hope you are able to do that. Yeah, so it was really interesting to talk to you. I mean, the whole conversation was kind of a roller coaster. To be very honest, it didn't go straight, but it was very interesting. But I really loved our conversation, and you gave us some really good insights, especially regarding the career options that one can pursue in art, and also the whole authentication process, the whole beautiful and unique concept of Jumbish. I really love that. So, before we end this conversation, I would just like to ask you, is like, do you want to give any advice to the audience, any general advice on life
On
that you,
life.
yeah.
Okay. Maybe so one thing I have observed is that so typically how we look at our career is we go through the school, we go to a college, and then we take up our first job. Okay? And those who are already into job, they will know that in a job also you have to work hard to establish your position. So even if so, my message is that if you really have to struggle anyway, whether it's a job or in a business, why not choose something which is absolutely aligned with your passion,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and choose a job or a business, whatever you want, but choose something which is aligned with the passion. And people generally talk about, oh, I don't know how to earn from my passion, and that is where we get stuck. So there are multiple ways. As the moment you start asking for people, you will get that answer. So for example, people say, I want to travel a lot, but I don't know how to earn money from traveling.
Hmm.
But there are ways for traveling. I want to draw. I want to enjoy painting. Okay, but I don't know how to earn from painting. I want to just dance, and but I don't know how to earn from dancing. So these are questions. If we start asking some experts in your passion area, I think there will be multiple answers, multiple options which can open up. So that is, I feel, is a wonderful thing to have for everyone, where we struggle, but we I won't call it struggle, we enjoy while we are working hard in our job or profession.
Yeah, true. True. The advice was really beautiful, and there are so many people out there who are going to be benefited out of it. So amazing talking to you, sir, and it was a very unique experience for me. I hope you enjoyed it as well.
I did
Yeah,
completely enjoyed Pratyanja, and thanks to Parth as well for inviting me.
yeah. Thank you so much.
So yeah.
Hope you liked our show. You can give your valuable feedback and suggestion of speakers you would like us to host next by writing us on www.artdown.store. Stay tuned to our channel as we are going to come up with brand new episodes every week on Friday. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Spotify. See you soon.